Welcome to Marketplace Tech Bytes, our weekly review of the biggest stories making headlines across the industry. I'm Lily Jamali. This week on the show, President Biden signs a TikTok divest or ban ultimatum into law. What the Federal Trade Commission's crackdown on non-compete clauses means for tech workers. And EV sales are slowing. Why are more players entering the market? Helping me to dig into all of that this week is Paresh Dave. He is senior writer at Wired Magazine. Welcome back, Paresh.
What a crazy week.
I know. It's always crazy when you're here. We begin, as we always do, with our Bite of the Week. Very curious to know what you have been thinking about this week. What do you have for us?
Over 150 million. So that's the number of monthly active users that Meta says Threads has now as of this week. It took Meta, less than a year to get to that point. It took Twitter about 6 years. So that's where we are in social media these days.
So we think that's a lot then.
Yes. I think it sort of means that, to me at least, that it means Threads has some staying power now, at least for the foreseeable future.
Very interesting. It feels like I haven't seen a lot about Threads in a while. It's been a few months, so that's a very interesting stat. Thank you for that. Mine is 270. That's the number of days ByteDance has to sell TikTok to a U.S. buyer or be barred from operating here in the U.S. 270 days is 9 months, by the way, although the president could extend that to a year. So this is part of this massive package offering aid to Israel, Ukraine, and Taiwan, passed by Congress on Tuesday night and now signed into law by President Biden. Paresh, ByteDance does not seem all that interested in taking this lying down. Here's CEO Xiao Chu this week.
Rest assured, we aren't going anywhere. We are confident and we will keep fighting for your rights in the courts. The facts and the Constitution are on our side, and we expect to prevail again.
Fighting for your rights in the courts, he says. I'm imagining the legal paperwork was pretty much ready to go on this one, Paresh.
And they can sort of copy paste from their lawsuit that they battled in Montana, where Montana tried to ban it, and they made sort of these free speech arguments on behalf of users in the company before.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about some of the reaction coming in, including what you just mentioned about the free speech argument. On one side, you have a lot of lawmakers saying TikTok has become this propaganda machine for the Chinese government, as well as a data collection service for them. On the other, there are organizations like the ACLU, which said on X this week, quote, "We'll keep saying it. This ban directly violates the First Amendment rights of the over 170 million Americans who use the platform." It seems like the legal battle is once again going to be pretty tightly focused on the First Amendment here.
And national security. So the U.S. government's argument is that there's a major national security concern with TikTok, particularly maybe allowing the Chinese government to control an important, broadcast portal to inform and entertain Americans. And that's a big, gaping hole. That's what the U.S. government will be saying. And it's going to come down to likely the Supreme Court deciding which argument holds more water.
Yeah, and TikTok CEO said in that clip that we played, we will prevail in the courts again. And that is fair. To your point earlier, TikTok has fought similar battles in the courts before on First Amendment grounds and has fared well.
Exactly. They were able to beat back that ban in Montana. They sort of seemingly were about to win against Donald Trump back in 2020 when this was first brought up. So they've been through this a few times, but they did lose this battle in Congress, and this bill did get signed into law. And that's probably been their biggest defeat so far.
Yeah, we cannot forget Joe Biden just joined TikTok. This is all very confusing. Well, the legal process...
He's using it for a little while longer, too.
Yeah. Well, the legal process here could go on for years, and users just might get to stay on the platform in the meantime, including Joe Biden, if he wants to. Well, on to our second story. The Federal Trade Commission is cracking down on non-compete clauses, Paresh. These are legal agreements that specify that a worker can't work for a competitor for a certain period of time after they leave a job. The FTC issued this rule earlier this week that bans non-competes, and this has been a big issue for tech workers. I wonder if you can first just set the table for us a little bit. You've been writing about the impact this could have on those workers, but how have big tech companies wielded these non-competes on workers historically?
So companies like Amazon have been particularly, aggressive in using non-competes. So when workers have wanted to, say, go from Amazon's cloud computing division to Google's cloud computing division or Microsoft's cloud computing division, which are all, very big competitors, they've said, hey, you need to sit out for 1 year. You need to sit out for 18 months because you signed a non-compete when you joined Amazon saying that you won't go to work for a competitor for some amount of time. That's potentially a year, 18 months that someone has to go without like a salary. I mean, it disincentivizes them to leave for a competitor, but their knowledge is in that space. So where else are they supposed to go?
Right. You say that this can trap workers, it can slow career advancement and wage increases as well. And in your article, you note that the FTC says about 1 in 5 U.S. workers across the board are bound by these clauses, but they do disproportionately affect workers in tech. So what does this change by the FTC mean for tech workers?
It's going to mean a lot more mobility, a much more opportunity to, try out new things. Has one of the workers who, faced this enforcement of a non-compete by Amazon and by IBM said, the hundreds of thousands of dollars that these companies were spending on legal fees and, related fees to keep workers in their jobs now can go towards signing bonuses and recruiting new workers. So I think it's a big victory for workers. The flip side, has GeekWire, a publication astutely pointed out, is that we could see more enforcement of NDAs or non-disclosure agreements, and sort of related contractual provisions saying that you can't take trade secrets or your contact lists or documents from a company. We might see a lot more litigation around that, where companies allege that workers are, stealing stuff on their way out.
Yeah, it's really helpful perspective. Thank you for that. And you also note in your article that California is among the states that already banned the enforcement of non-competes. I found this really interesting. And that old law is credited for helping make Silicon Valley the innovation hub that it is today. Contrast that with Massachusetts, which has no such law and never really saw its tech corridor soar in the same way, you write. Great piece. We're going to have a link to that on marketplacetech.org. On to our third and final story, Tesla making news for its earnings report. Profits fell 55% in the first quarter. A sign of the times for the electric vehicle industry, for sales. I got to interview Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm earlier in the year, who wasn't thrilled with a question that I asked about why EV demand has fallen off. We kind of met in the middle with growing but slowing. And so let me ask you first, is that your general view of the EV market right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely slowing. I think you've reported on this, that the industry got a bit too ahead of itself. There's a lot of concern that charging stations are insufficient, or there's too many, chargers that don't work, and people are concerned about dealing with that. We're also seeing people, stuck living in places that they don't exactly want to be in, so they're further from work because of the high mortgage rates. Maybe they're only commuting a couple days a week to the office, so they can get away with keeping their gas guzzler or keeping their gas car for a little longer. So there's a lot of factors that are keeping people from wanting to go after those EVs.
So with all that said, why are more players trying to get into the EV market right now? The latest example being Afeela, this partnership between Sony and Honda, which had this huge display at this year's CES in Vegas and is now going into showcase mode.
Well, another example is the Vietnamese car maker VinFast. I've been seeing a lot of VinFast in Southern California recently. Their CEO, one of the few billionaires in Southeast Asia, said yesterday he's going to pour $1 billion more into that company, even though sales are somewhat shaky, because that's where the world's going. He sees that there's massive opportunity eventually, maybe not today. And so it's worth just getting there. So maybe we don't get too behind the times. We've gotten a little ahead, but we don't want to fall behind either.
Well, I want to dwell on Afeela for a moment here. This is a car that seems like they're treating the car part as secondary almost. It's being marketed as an entertainment space. And, what do you know? Sony happens to make movies and video games. What are your thoughts on this?
I think it's also part of the wave of the future, right? I mean, we're expecting that a lot of these cars potentially could become autonomous over time. And there's been a lot of talk about, like, how do you make that a space that people want to be in and feel comfortable in? So I think this is part of a wave of testing that out.
Yeah, you're going to be in it a lot if you're charging at certain stations, if you don't have home charging at home. I got to say, all I really want, forget the video games, et cetera. I just want a CD player. Is that too much to ask? Maybe a VCR?
No one wants that.
All right. Paresh Dave, senior writer at Wired. So great to have you back. Thank you. And thanks to all of you for watching Marketplace Tech Bytes Week in Review. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to us. We are at Marketplace APM. Rosie Hughes produced this week's episode, and I'm Lily Jamali. This is APM.